The president says he will meet with Vladimir Putin, and he has urged the Russian leader to make a deal to end the war in Ukraine. Listen.
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week. Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does. He might not. I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal.
Well, no date is set for potential meeting, though the fighting in Ukraine shows no sign of slowing down, with the Ukrainian Air Force reporting Russia has launched more drones and missiles overnight. So joining us now for more from Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, is CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams. Holly, what are you hearing on the ground right now from sources and from people that you're talking to? The president campaigned on suggesting that he could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He alone could do it. We're not any closer to that. And now he's also saying that Vladimir Putin is ruining Russia. What are you hearing?
Hey there, Vlad. Yeah, look, during the campaign, President Trump made it sound really easy, didn't he? He said he could end the war here in Ukraine quickly. He said he could end it in 24 hours. He even said he could end it before he took office, and obviously that hasn't happened. Interestingly, in recent days, we actually heard from Trump's special envoy for the war in Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, who said that they're now hoping to end the war within 100 days. That's obviously a very different time frame. But what we have seen in recent months here in Ukraine, with all this talk from Donald Trump, but without any specifics about how he would end the war, is this rising sort of tide of anxiety here in Ukraine. Some people worried that what Trump actually means is that he would cut off the supply of US weapons, which Ukraine really depends on to defend itself. Other people here worried that Trump would kind of pressure Ukraine into surrendering territory to Russia, perhaps even without any security guarantees, to stop Vladimir Putin doing the same thing all over again. But when it comes down to the mechanics of how you would end the war here, it's really complicated. I mean, Vladimir Putin started this war by invading his neighbor, and it has cost Russia an estimated, hundreds of thousands of casualties. But Vladimir Putin has kind of pinned his legacy on this war. So if he pulls out of Ukraine now, it is a personal humiliation for him. On the other hand, if in any negotiations Russia is allowed to annex parts of Ukraine, there's a real moral hazard there. It sends a message to Russia, to Vladimir Putin, and to like-minded leaders that they can get away with it. I thought it was very interesting yesterday, the day of the inauguration. We also heard from Vladimir Putin, and he said that he is open to dialogue with the new administration about the conflict here in Ukraine.
All right. Holly Williams for us in Kyiv this morning. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate it.